Hey guys, how's it going? It's JRP here, and I'm bringing you a tutorial for Future House. A couple of you guys asked for it, so I figured I'd bring something for you. The sound I have is similar to another track around. I'm not too sure of. I came up with it on the spot, and it sounds a little familiar. However, we're going to use this for the tutorial. So basically, what you want to do is definitely find yourself some sample packs which have different sounds and things in it. With Future House, a lot of the sounds used are from short synth samples, normally put on a seventh difference on tempo. So for example, this is the sound that we have. This is the bass, but I'll just use this as an example. So bear with me for a moment. We'll just set this on a higher octave to describe this for you. So let's play that. So that's the sound there, and if you put a +7 note on top of the original, this is what it sounds like. So yeah, that gives you an idea of something which goes towards Future House. So let me just show the sounds that I've got for me today, that I've got from Vengeance Sound Packs, which you'll be able to pick up online for, I think it's for around $70–80. But here, this is the sounds I have. And then we've got this. Some vocals shot on there as well, and then this noise too. And finally, probably using this for the intros. Alright, so let's go ahead and play all of these together, minus the one that we use for the intro, because that will make it sound really off. Now let's just make sure this bass is sitting here. I'll go over this in a moment with you guys, just bear with me. Okay, let me just change this bass. So I want to drop this down to a lower octave just so I can show that for you. I'm aware that lots of you guys are probably saying, "Oh, who uses sample packs? That's cheating and whatnot." But I wouldn't be surprised if some of the big producers uses it too. I'm not accusing them of anything, but to make good Future House, it's actually very, very acceptable to use samples, because you can get some really great sounds out of it. So for the bass, I'll just go over that with you. I'll just reload my Nexus. Make sure that you have Nexus as a Silence 1 as your plugin, because it's great for making basses, and also some leads. You can get some really nice leads out of this by using the chorus, phaser, and detune. So for now, what I'll just show you is, let's just find the main edit preset. Okay, so when you get your project, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your octave is set to -2 on this oscillator A1 here. This will be set on normally on saw wave, but you want to move it down to the square, so that looks like this, and make sure the voice is on 2. Also make sure that the retrigger is highlighted. Next thing you want to do is go to the part B. Make sure that the oscillator B2 is on -2. Phasers all the way down, detunes down, and that's also on a square wave as well. And make sure it's voices 2 and retrigger on as well. Next thing you will have is on your filter type, you will probably have just a straight bar. You want to move that up so it looks like this. And next, what you're going to want to do is for the cutoff, you're going to put that at about it's between 50 to 60 hertz. So you can see it here where it reads hertz. Going between 50 to 60 in there. Now, if you play that note, you will hear really nice bass sound of that. Next thing you want to do is go to the amp envelope B or and A. You're going to want to do both of those. So let's start an amp envelope A, so just click on part A here. Move this up to 5 on the amp envelope here, and same with B, up to 5. Then you want to make sure that your sustain, so this is the drive, so on the sustain knob you want to pull that down, and on the same on part B. Next thing, you're going to want the release to be up at about 2.5, so it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's close to it. Okay. Now if we play that sound, you will hear... Sorry, now if we go build that sound first, okay. So this is what it looks like. If you guys want to, you can either pause it and copy this, or just, you know, whenever you like. But basically there's a 4-bar length and it's only used for 2 bars. So you've got a D note, half beat gap, another D note, and then you're going to go follow these through here and follow the rest of those there. This can actually be filled out if you like. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. But for the samples it wouldn't make a difference. But for this space, you're going to want this filled out there. And we'll play that for you. Cool. Now what we want to do is just rename this bass. Just right click that, hit rename, and then type it in, press enter. Now, if you want to make this bass a little bit different, so let's just play this, and I'll move around with this phaser, and you can just adjust this to how you like it. So let me just play that now. You can hear the difference there. Full bass. Okay, so that will remove some of the oomph that the bass has, but we can bring that back in. So first thing you want to do is go, the next thing you want to do after adjusting that phaser, I've got mine sitting around 84, or between 80 to 90 degrees. You'll see that even if you change it by one tiny bit, it can modify the noise of that's coming out of this bass. So what we're going to do is bring some of that bass back. So one thing I forgot to mention is that this should be clicked to sit on 24 decibels. Same thing on the B side, because that will bring out some more of the bass. And lastly, what you need to do in this filter area is adjust this from what it was probably on nothing or on A to AB, and then on the other side it must sit on BA, so from B to BA. That will bring out the if you're looking for, and it would sound hopefully what mine sounds like now. Okay, so next thing you do is go to the drive here and move this up to 1 on this side, and on the other on part B, move it also up to 1, and listen again. Take it away. Bring it back. Okay, you've got good headphones on. If you have good headphones on, you will hear the difference there. Okay, so now what we want to do is create patterns for each of the different ones. So what you want to do is go to this pattern 1, click in here, and rename each of these channels so you can understand them. So rename lead bass 1, rename lead bass 2, lead bass 3, high R is just because I can, and intro chords. Leave that as bass, and then you want to go into this top bit here, click down there, and go split by channel and hit that. That's going to bring out all of them in each individual one. You can just use the arrows in your keypad to go to the next ones, pressing the right arrow or left arrow to go back up. Okay, so let's go back to lead bass 1. What we really only want is one channel which has all of the lead basses on it. So go to lead bass 2, click on here, and then hit Control Copy. So that's just Control C, and then you want to go back to lead bass 1 by pressing left on the keypad or selecting it from here. Then you make sure you're on the lead bass 2 channel that you just selected and hit Control V. Okay, then go back to lead bass 2 and get rid of that by going Control X. Do the same thing with lead bass 3, so Control Copy, back to lead bass 1, Control V, delete base 3 and get rid of that. Next thing you want to do is go to lead base. When you're in lead base 3, you want to hit delete and go OK. Then you got to click on lead base 2, make sure it says it at the top, and then click delete and get rid of that one as well. Now you've got all your channels sorted. So you've got lead base 1, you've got the high R's in there, and the intro chords and the bass. So we can reactivate all of these, and we can play each individual channel after each other. So. Very simple stuff. Next one. And then the bass. Cool, so let's add them into the playlist here. So I think what we'll do is we'll add in the intro chords. Let's just drag 4 of them, so that's 8-bar length, and also a bass in there too. So. It gives you an idea of what's going to go on. Now, the first thing I want to do is you want to open up your mixer tab here. This is where it gets pretty interesting. First things first, you want to be linking these channels to their own individual mix channel. So first thing you do is go to the first one at the top here. Click on it, make sure only one is highlighted, the lead bass 1. Click on whatever one you want across here. Preferably start from 10 and further on. I'll explain to you later why you should do that, but we'll put it in here anyway. So hit Control L and it will link it in. Alternatively, you can click on a track, click on here and go assign free mixer track, but then you can't choose it yourself, it'll do it for you. So what you want to do is make sure the next one's highlighted and highlight that to its own one. Lead bass 2, and same for the third, Control L. Click on the next one, Control L, intro chords, Control L, bass, Control L. So first thing we'll work with is the intro chords, so we just put that in for now, and while we're playing with this, the first thing I noticed that I wanted to add was some reverb, so you want to go in this top corner, go to reverb 2, and just mess around with this. You guys follow what I'm going on in here, and I'll explain what I've set it on afterwards. So let's play this now. Okay, so what we've done there is just added in a bit of room for this one. I hope you were following what I was doing in here. If you didn't, just skip back and watch what I'm adjusting it to. You can see all the values in the corner, so you can just skip backwards and forwards just like that. Don't copy exactly what I'm doing. The whole idea is to listen to it, see how it listens, and if you feel like it sounds good, then choose that. The next thing you want to go to is the second slot here. Click on the down button and find yourself Stereo Shaper and click on that one here. What this will do is move the sound into different parts of your ears. So, for example, if you can hear the main of the sound sort of right in the middle of your head, that means that there's even sound from each headphones in the right corresponding areas and from the headphone. Otherwise, what it can move is move this area so you can hear it over here and over here. Straight up in here with the sound, if you think of it in respective to your ears when you're listening, down low and by the edges. Basically it's just adjusting the stereo of what's going on in here. What you're going to want to do is go into the Shaper presets and find yourself, let's go with Stereorize 3, click on that one there. Okay, so now I've got a little preset for you here. Next thing you do is adjust these two knobs here, this one and this one. Move this one up so it's level with all the others. So it should be sitting on 0.00 dB up in the corner there. So you want it exactly on there, and have a listen again. Without. With. So with that reverb, just whack that all into the bottom. Try again. Next thing you want to click on is the third mixer channel and put a limiter on. Make sure you have a limiter on every channel you have so you can adjust how much sound is coming out when, and you can level out some of the volume areas. So while you're playing this, you will see the sound come through here. So you can just click on this main interface to pause it, and now you can see what the sound's coming out. What you want to do is mess around with the gain, so this will make it, if you raise it up louder, raise it down lower, you want to sort of keep all of your sounds below, say 12 decibels in here. You don't want to push it past 10 at all, you kind of want to leave it below 12, so that when we come to the final mixing, mastering, then we can start boosting that volume, and that requires a lot of ear work and just close listening. So I'm just going to mess around with this here, follow what's going on here, okay? Okay, you're probably going to want to raise your volume up on your computer for now. Be careful if you play any sounds that aren't limited, it's just going to blow your ears up, okay? So let's listen to that again. Now it doesn't feel so raspy and explosive, but it's calmed down and it's clean. Next thing adding in is a parametric EQ2. That will pull this up. First thing you want to do is grab this number 1, right click it, go order, and hit steep 8. Now drag this one down so you get a thing like that, and you want to set this around, say, the 50 gigahertz mark here, just on that, so it says 50. Nice. That cuts out the low bass for when the kick comes in later. And grab this 2 and just boost it here. So you want to set it around 70 gigahertz and at probably, yeah, just in there, at about 7 decibels. You can see everything up in the corner. If you just look, you can see about 7 decibels in there. And then move the 3 up to about here, 4.5 decibels, 215 gigahertz, and try again. Okay, so now you want to mess around with this until it sounds good. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Next thing you want to do is go to the bass and add that one in. Now, what you want to do with the bass is very simple. So, stereo shaper, we won't do anything yet. Limiter. Simple as that. Stereo shaper, you want to push this to presets and you want to put in the stereoize 3. Same thing, up to 0. Cool. Limiter, you're going to need to drop this down straight away so that we can hear it properly. And we'll play, and while we're playing and listening to it, we can set it to where we want it. With the bass, I like to give it a bit more leeway, so it's pushing just above 10, but that's okay for now. Cool. Now, add these in. Cool. So what we want to add with the high R's is the same thing. Stereo shaper we don't need for this one because I feel like it's sitting right in the correct spot. We will add some reverb. So reverb 2, Fruity Reverb 2, and we'll just mess around with that as well. So put the high cut all the way up, the damp all the way up. Decay will increase that a little bit to say 2 seconds. Low cut, leave that where it is. Boost the size to around 84, 85. So 83 to 85, somewhere within there. and then move the stereo separation to probably 50% and the wet level to 50% as well, and sorry, just leave it where it is, which is 50%. Try again. Max this one out now. Bring this up to 65. Okay. That's all we're going to start with for now. So hit Control All to bring up everything here, and it's going to drag this one bar across. Okay, now you want to go and find a quick sample. This is just to shorten down this tutorial. We can do our own effects, but for now we'll just use some quick reverse crashes for now. Samples are always great. I use them in every track I have. It's sometimes when you just don't have that imagination on you or creativity with you, then you can just pull up any sort of reverse sample and do what you like with it. So look. I like this one. Okay, let's put this together. What you can do is just make sure that your point here is on this bar. So you want to put it to exactly where this is sitting at. So if we drag this up, you just scroll in and you keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. And then you can use the arrows to move forward and back. Okay, now you hit the Alt button. This is to get it touching from here to here. So hit make sure this is hovered over the top bar here, hit Alt, and then click. And then drag this to here. If you don't hit Alt and you just try to drag, it may work, but if you're like one section off and then you just click it, it's going to jump like that, and you can't ever get it on the right spot. So there we go, and then zoom back out again. Alternatively, hit Shift 2. This is for Studio 11, so just to let you guys know. Yep, so it's going to fit it out well, and then just hit the Alt button again, click on this, and drag it to flat. So. Okay, now you want to go to this, you want to double click, go to the mixer channel, go across to say 20 to separate it from the leads and stuff, hit Control L. Next thing you want to do is add a reverb and a limiter, and we're going to want to drop this volume quite a lot. So you can just hit space and listen to it. Cool. Now we add this reverb in. Boost that high cut to maximum, same with damp. Boost that size, bring this to about 70%. So it's leftways, not right, not negative, but positive 70%, and boost this up to 70. And that decay, we want it up to about probably like 10 seconds. 20 seconds, let's not do that. About 10 seconds. Okay, let's go with 8. Yeah, let's try that. And then bring it down a bit more. Bring it down a bit more. Get a limiter on that high R because it's a little too powerful. Drop that a little bit down. Okay, now we're going to get to the rise. Intro chords, you want to click on it, so you can just either double click and exit, or just click on that once and it should hopefully bring up the respective channel on this side. Okay, so now you want to go to this top bit and hit clone. Okay, and then back to the top bit, and this is intro chords 2, and hit clone. Okay, Now, what you want to do in here is actually just click on where the notes are, just bring that up, hit Shift 2 to bring it up to a decent space, and actually just get rid of all of those. So if you hit Control, click, and then drag a box around them, the ones you don't want, and then hit that there. Now we want to be pasting these across here, just like that. And then again, and then we want to be making doubles on those, and drag this last box. Alright, that last beat you want to leave free, so let's have a play with that. Same with the bass. Okay. Notice that these will be in different notes. So this will be out if we have it sitting there. So you want to make sure that it was on D before on the first note. So make sure this is sitting on that note. What I did just then is went up, hit Control Copy, Control C, and then went back down to it, hit Control V, and then moved it up to D where the first note was for the bass. Shite, I didn't clone it first. Okay, we'll clone it, then do that. If you've done the same as me, then that's unfortunate, but it's not too hard to fix. Let's do the same thing that we had before. Make sure it's sitting on D. Bass 2. Why is that? You know, I've just created one too many channels here, so I'm just going to fix that. Okay. Alright, so let's do that. Now what you're going to want to find is a vocal shout. So if you don't have one of those, go Googling, pause and go for a Google and find vocal shouts, and then come back, and once you find something decent, vocal shots or shouts,
Got a free. Whoa, you gotta get in. Jump. 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 Woo. Oh. Yeah.
just go ahead and drag that in. Okay, drop the volume on those. Okay, now we add our tops in. We're gonna go back to the drop in a moment. I just want to see what this sounds like in here, and with the bass on it as well. Make sure we go back to those leads. Go to pattern and have a listen. Turn those two off so we can just hear them individually. All right, play the first one. Okay. Get a shaper on there. Presets, mid. Add a limiter in there. Just below 10 on there. Cool, that's sitting just around 12, 10, with a little bit of a boost. Mid on that one, add limiter in there too. Bit of indigestion there. Alright, last one. Stereorize 3. Limiter. Make sure that that's dropped down to about 10. With the seal, what you want to drop that on is just that. You want to drop it just so it's chopping those tips off. It levels out the left and right balance in the head when you're listening to headphones. You won't pick it up so much on speakers outside, but you will with headphones if it's in balance. And then bring those 3 back up. Dragging out a little bit for me, so this out button you can control how long the note comes through. So you click on the main channel, comes up. Watch the sound as it comes down. So you can hear the carry of the bass in that one. It's a little too much as well, so drop that. Release down to say 1. And the same on part A, down to 1. Try again. Okay, what I want you to do instead is grab this drive, drop that to 4.5 approximately, and try again. Much better. Okay. Alright, so now let's work on that drop. What we want to do is drag a red box around this area so we can do the pitches and everything like that. Okay, now I'm curious as if this will work or not, so let's give this a go. Cool, very good. What I've done here is gone to intro chords here. You right click, you drag this from 2 all the way up to 12, so 12 semitones is 1 octave. Right click on the pitch modulator, make sure it's on there, it's straight up and down. Right click, click create automation clip. That will bring this up in the mixer. Make sure that you have this highlighted for just the 4 beats bars where the drop is. Otherwise it will create a pitch automation for the entire track that's sitting there. And that's just frustrating to work with. I like to keep my my projects looking a little cleaner. Okay, now what you want to have to do is bring that first module up to 100%, and then go to the first point, right click that, hit copy value, then right click in the middle of the bars here, just click it down the bottom, right click, then right click again, right click on it, and then click paste value. So it's going to keep it static for here, and then it's going to start to build from here. But you want to make sure that this is sitting just 1 bar off, so that we have it finishing when that finishes. Make sure that it's on 0% up here. When you go down here, you can see 0%, not anything off, but 0%. To bring it back to standard, you just hit the right button when you're on that middle piece, when it gives you a double-ended arrow like that. Hit right click, it'll straighten it up. So let's just play that without the bass for now. Cool, and now the same thing with the bass. For the bass, what you're going to want to do is have to go down to this bottom bit and drag this up to 12 first, and then you click on the same thing here. So behind it, there will be a little bit, so if you can't find that, you just hit the X button and then bring this up. If you want to bring the plugin back up, you just bring it back by double clicking, but then you exit this, same thing, that's on 12. Okay, and create the modulator there, and do the exact same thing. Okay, sitting on 50, drag it back here. Okay. Right, so we'll give that a play. so that sounds pretty good. Next bit up is we need to add some snares in there. So what I'm going to do is find myself some snares. Bear with me. We don't want something so hard, so that sounds pretty good. Drag that in. Go on the top here, find next empty, and rename that to snare rise. And let's create our snares. Okay. Let's do that a slightly different way. Just follow what I'm doing in this one here. Just keep going across like this. And just take these last ones and make them some triples. Okay, play that. Now I want to do the same things that we did with the last bass and just stop that from being so long, so probably put that straight up and down. Probably go to about 66%. Same thing for the pitch, right click at the top, create an automation, and same thing here. Okay, and now we'll play that. Okay, so now let's have a quick listen to what it would sound like. Here, we'll add this in to just there, so add that little extra on. So we'll just play what we've got from the start now. Okay, we want to add to this chorus drop here, so we shall add in, let's just clean this up a little bit. Right, it's missing a little bit of oomph in here. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll go to lead bass 1, we'll just clone this and rename, we'll leave the rename for the moment, get rid of those two, and just add that drop in there which we had. So this starts on C. Okay. Right. Put that in there and create that automation clip as well. Okay, the one that I forgot to do, which I have to do almost every time when I make tracks, and then I instantly realise it. Once you've come to the end of the pitch rise, it's still sitting a whole octave higher. Okay, so what you want to do is right click pretty much exactly on that line and put in 50% so that it sits back at normal. And do the same thing with every pitch modulation that pitch automation clip you have made. And let's try that again. Okay, now let's add ourselves a kick. Alrighty. Okay, I very much like this kick, it sounds very good. Okay. This is one of the most important things of any house track, is always the kick. If you have the kick that does not fit, it's just not going to work. So we'll spend some time on this one. Have it sitting in a pattern. I'm just going to let this run through, and I'm going to talk gibberish as I go along. So, alright. First thing I want to do is get rid of that. Pardon me. Nasty sound on the back there. Process it around there, which is sitting 15%. Link the kick, however, to the first insert. Okay. Add yourself a stereo shaper. Add yourself a limiter, and add yourself an EQ2, parametric EQ2, and add yourself a fruity compressor. First thing you do is go to the EQ2 and boost the 1. Just look roughly where I'm putting it. You should be able to hear that start to come out. And now the compressor. Go to presets, drums. Now you really be able to hear that. Presets. Drums. Okay, so just on that little thing, click on there, presets, drums. Okay. Shaper, in here, presets, mid-max. Okay, so what you do is go to mid, bring that, go to the limiter, and just bring that right down first. And then back to the stereo shaper, grab this mod and bring it up to about 7 decibels. Same with the other side. Make sure whatever you have on this side, so this is 7.1, make sure the other side is also exactly 7.1. Back to the limiter. You can bring this up to about 2 decibels. And make sure that seals down there as well. Just tapping the top of that. Okay. Alright, now we paste this in here. Let's make a double of that, so drag a box over it. Just take out that last box here. And then just get this and just drag it across a little bit so we have a little bit of leeway, and it just rounds it out. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do, depending on how you like to sidechain, will depend on how you want to do this. The way I do it is using Grosbeat. I used to use Peak Controller with a separate kick, but I found that this way I can do sidechaining a lot more effectively. So you want to right click here and drag a box over this much and just turn the bass off for now. Turn the lead, anything on the lead here, turn it off. Pardon me. Now, if we play this now in the song, So for this bass, make sure we have this dragged out so that it fills it in. Alright, okay. You also want these in here. I'm just going to check something. Okay. Alright, so go to the bass channel, add my gross beat. Cool. Then go to in here, go to presets, and just go to sidechain. Okay. Sorry, replace with default. Sorry, what you want to find is the sidechain preset. I don't know what it's called on here, but what you want it to look like in the end, because I've made so many presets myself, I've saved them, is you want it to look like this. So this one can only move up and down. Make sure that it's all the way at the bottom. Normally the preset will be sitting up here, drag it to the bottom. Make sure all of these are flat on the ends here, and make sure they're dragged to the bottom. Next thing you do is you want to add right click and put it up to here. If you get this drop all of a sudden, right click on that same point again and click single curve, and if it's off, right click the middle bit and it'll pop back, and do that for each individual one. This makes the sound come back on a gradient from nothing to up to making it on the last quarter beat of the beat, and then respective filling out 1 bar length. And this will repeat. So if I play it for you, let's just show this in perspective. Let me just have a listen here. It's off now. Okay, and I'll turn it on after the next beats. Okay. Okay, now you'll be able to hear the difference. So keep it off. Okay, so I've decided I do not like that. This is sometimes a problem that you will have with building on it, so I'm just going to mess around, and then when I come back to it, we'll decide on it. Yeah, I like this much better. Okay, follow what I have here, not complete zero, all the way across here. What you'll have is probably it's set like this. The only thing I want you to do is just drag this up to 15% tension. You'll be able to see it up there. 15% tension for all of them. Okay, make sure they're identical. And now you want to make sure you save that as a preset. So to do that, click on here, save preset as, name it, hit save. I've already got this one set as just as sidechain, so that's fine. And you want to add that to the leads, so all of the leads. That's why you save it as a preset, so you don't have to do it for every time. So gross beat, preset, sidechain. Lead 2 bass, gross beat, presets, sidechain. Lead 1 bass, gross beat, presets, sidechain. Very good. And we have this in here. Okay, very good. Right, so next thing you're going to want to do is firstly, go to bass. This would be the best one to do it with. Find the gross beat on the mixer for the bass. Next, find this little button here. Knob here, sorry. Right click that. Go down to create automation clip. Click on that. Now, it's going to create one of these in the desktop. Sorry, under playlist here. What you can see is the kick finishes here, so we don't need any sidechain, kick sidechain if it's no kick isn't going to want to be playing here, okay? So right click and for this last bar, right on this line here, so you have one full bar length with a, in there. Grab this one. Sorry, don't do that. Right click here, again, drag it down. This one here, drag this all the way down. Okay, what you also need to do is grab this here and just scroll across, paste it in, click on this button here, make unique. Now drag this one to the floor, drag this one to the floor. Don't worry about all those buttons here, and then drag this out to meet the other one, and same again here. Now you're probably asking why I would have to bother with that, but the fact is that the track thinks that it's going to want to sidechain the entire time before this because it's set at 100% here. That is not the case. So we create another automation clip to tell it that it's going to play no sidechain during that point. Okay, so now what you need to do is go to lead base 3, right click on that point as well, but this time click link to controller. Click on that. Okay, okay. Now you're going to have this pop up. Now you want to go to the internal control section, so your MIDI internal, and it will say none on here. Click on that. Now what you need to find is gross beat bass mix level, and this will be number 1, so it won't have a number 2 over it. It will be number 1. Okay, cool. Click on that. Next important point: make sure that this is not highlighted. If that is highlighted, it's going to remove it from the bass and only put it on this lead part. You need to make sure that is not highlighted. Next thing, go to the mapping formula part, click on here, on this little button here, select, don't select inverted, select default, accept. Now repeat the same process, so lead bass 2, right click on gross beat, link to controller, make sure that's not highlighted, go to gross beat bass mix level, make sure it's not number 2, go to default, click accept, and repeat for the final lead bass one in there. Okay. If you don't select default, it will reverse the effects of this, meaning we'll have sidechain here and no sidechain here. What we need is no sidechain here and sidechain there. Okay, so let's play that. Okay, so you heard that, how it cut off in that last part. Okay, so we don't need that anymore, we'll do that with this here. Alright, now let's hear everything from the beginning. To get rid of this red, you can either do this, or if you just double click anywhere. So if you've got something selected, you double click here, it's going to get rid of that red. Double tap the stop button, and we'll hit play and have a listen. Okay, before we hit play, first thing I want to do is right click on this main volume modulator here and create an automation clip. Next thing you do is go to the first point, drag that down to about 71, make a right click on the drop, so on the point that the bass is going to hit, the kick is going to hit, right click it there, drag that to 71, yeah. Then you want to right click above it and drag that to 80%. If you can't get it perfectly to 80%, just copy that last point and then paste it on the top value since it's perfectly 80% now. As you can see up on the side part here, it says 80%. And now we will play and have a listen. so that's sounding pretty good. I want to lose some of that sidechain, so what you want to do is adjust the sidechain to probably about half. So the one I have on here looks something like, no, that's not very good actually. Let's see. Okay. I'll probably drag these to about there, which is -4 decibels, so that's probably pretty much on halfway. Okay, because I haven't actually made this sidechain before, I will save preset as stab, bass, side, and light, because that makes sense to me. Do not ask me why. Presets, and we'll just load that one, and we will load that one on this one too, and finally we will also load it on the bass. Okay, now if we have a listen to that again. Okay, we want some hats in there. For the sakes of this tutorial, I am going to use a hat sample. I would build my own shaker lines and things like that. Actually, you know what? We'll do it anyway. Let's just do it. I've come this far. Let's do it. Okay. Let's see. I know there is some shaker lines in here somewhere. Okay. No, we're going to do it ourselves. Okay. No, you want to find open hi-hats for this. Alright, I'm just going to play around and see what I can find, so bear with me for a few minutes. Right, yeah, so I found myself some hats. So we've got here's, and that's offset to the right, and we've got this offset to the left, so that's what these sound like. Oh. Creates a little headspace, and we've got a little bit of extra. Adding a bit of room to it. Cool, and a bit of clap. Okay, so let's start that from the beginning, and that should pretty much be the end of the tutorial, but alright, let's play that. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to add myself a couple things in, and I'll come back to you in a moment. Righto, okay, I'm back. I've added a little bit of my own spice to it, just because I felt like it was a little empty. I've added this to the end. So that's very simple. That's just some snares here on the automation building. So its original sound is this. I've added in an extra hat because I felt like it was needing it. So we've got this one in there now. Cool, and I've also added a little bit of a tease on that rise. Cool. And yeah. I haven't done anything else to it. So that should be it, and I'll finalize that. We'll do some really quick mastering and we'll finish this up. So you hit Control Save to name whatever you will name it. I've named it Deep House 3, save it in there, and the next button you want to hit, make sure nothing is highlighted, so make sure that the entire thing is just loose. Control R, okay. And you want to save that as a WAV file. I've got a WAV folder just for all my WAV tracks that I've been working on, and hit start and let that do its thing. Okay, once that's done, you hit File, New. Then what you do is you find your track and you either drag it in. I've added my own folder in so that I can just do this easier. And add in your track. Now set that to the right BPM. So for this one it's 120. If you guys didn't have that already, you probably want to have to do that from the start. I should have mentioned, but that's alright. Alright, link that to the channel 10, and you want to be adding in. Okay, first you want to do is go to the drop and drag a block to the first 4. It's going to be really repetitive and frustrating, but this will be the best way to do your mastering without listening to the entire lead over and over again, which is going to do your header more when you replay it. But anyway, here on the first one, you want to add in a parametric EQ2. Then you want to add in a maximus. Then you want to add in a limiter. First things first, go to the maximus, go to that top left corner, hit presets, go default. Okay, now that you have a default maximus in here, go to the low, hit solo, and listen. Okay, so you can hold that low in there. Next thing you want to find is bands on this right hand side here. So just to clarify, it's sitting on master, and we want to click solo, then you want to click low, then you want to click bands. Okay, now listen and adjust this accordingly to how much bass there is. Alright, if you drag it up and down, it will lower the amount of bass or raise the amount of bass. Alright, so just flatten that out again. Okay. Alright. So we don't want all that in there, we want all the basses only. Okay. I want a little bit more bass in my tracks, so middle section. Middle section, if you grab this top one, it'll move to high, so make sure you click in the middle and adjust it with this one here. Top range. Okay. Alright. Next thing you want to do is go back to low and watch carefully. Click back on monitor here. Okay, and watch carefully. See how this has got raise on it here? You want to be clicking with a right click roughly in between the level that we have here. See how this shaded area is beating? So you want to be finding the middle. So the middle's around about here. Right click that and drag that to around about there. Next thing you want to do is grab this top bit, drag it so that there's a slight arch on it, and make sure that there's a slight arch in here too. And then go back to mid, repeat the process. you see that it's lowered quite a lot in here. Alright, so what you're going to have to do is then go back to the limiter, this time because the macness is done with, and play with only the seal thing, alright? Okay, so now you can see this is what the track is looking like at the moment for that main. All you want is to bring this green line so it just touches the tips, alright? And play that again. Good. Okay. Now, it's all about raising the volume without creating any distortion, okay? When you ever watch tutorials and things like this, what you will find is that they will tell you not to bring the volume above 0. Anything above 0 is apparently bad. I feel that that's a lie, because you can still get good quality if you have done the mixing correctly during the previous track when you're making it. So you can push it above 0, but you have to have a very, very keen ear in order to pick this up. So you want to pick it up to where it's just distorting, then you back it off a little bit, and that's your perfect range of volume. But it's a lot of the time you are able to push it above 0, okay? Dependent on the type of track it is, okay? So using this volume modulator, we're going to do that, okay? People will frown at this when I do this, but I feel like it is a great way to boost volume of the track. Alright, so listen carefully. Okay, so max that out. Now you want to pull up a fruity balance. Okay, so first thing to do is reset that. Go to this balance and just max that out. See what we get. Back to the parametric EQ and play it and boost it. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Cool, so that's fine. Yeah, so that's quite good with that one. So now you want to make sure that you have nothing highlighted, and then you want to go Control Shift R, and that's going to save it as an MP3, and you can save that into any of your folders. This is my finished file folders. Anything that I remaster or change, I just do this complete process again. Tweaking, not completely changing, just tweaking anything. Let that play out. Okay, hit save and exit that. Next thing you want to do is open up that track and have a listen. And that's the wrong one. Alright. And there we have it. The only thing I would change would be to drop that volume down, because I can hear the distortion in it a little bit. That's sort of something you have to go backwards and forwards with. So in order to do that, that's very simple. You just pull up the mastered file, go back, to the main and just grab this and just drop it down a couple ticks. Alright, and then recheck by playing the main chorus that it's all good. Okay, save that in. Make sure nothing's highlighted. Resave that. And that will be the fix. So, saving. Brilliant. Okay, so that is done. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this tutorial. I hope you have learnt a lot out of this. It was long, I have to agree with you on that one. But that's how I make my Future House tracks. That's how I would suggest you guys go for it if you're starting to learn Future House. Is definitely get your sample packs down, have that creativity put in front of you, and that way you can learn to build your own synths out of that by using different oscillators and things like that. Once I can build myself some proper synths myself like that, which I have done for my tracks, it is hard to do, and to really get into a track fast, if you want to keep working on, sometimes it's good to have that little boost of creativity. So just have those sample packs there for inspiration. But if you want to use them in your tracks like I do almost every time, go for it, because it gets you going. If you want something specific, you have to build it yourself. Simple as that. Don't go looking for it, just build it yourself. Okay, thanks for watching and listening, and make sure to subscribe, give this video a like. It will most definitely help me out. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.